Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Very welcome, guys.
All right, gang.
I have agenda, does anybody need an agenda?
I almost forgot to print.
Yeah.
I printed one, that's the last thing I did before I came down. I was like,
Lawyer, yeah, work to straight here.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
Jerry, will you accept that? Thank you.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call.
Nancy Grove.
David Roth.
Joe Thompson.
Jericho Trail.
Missing tonight is Jim Roth. And we'll move next to approving the minutes. So we need to approve August
Two of them, yes.
August 8th.
August 8th,
and August-
which had no changes to it. I think the only thing was it was just Nancy, Jim and I. You were absent.
So we thought that we couldn't.
We thought we couldn't, I guess we could.
Oh, I thought it was at the August 8th meeting. Or you're saying on August 15th, or whatever
Correct.
that next week was?
We didn't have a meeting August 15th though,
Yeah.
because I was absent and you were absent.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
Anyways, August 8th, good. And
yes.
then the ones with the revisions, good. Okay, I will send to Christine.
And so what?
So that is done. So we had a couple items of business to talk about tonight that we're gonna vote on. The first one is establishing new leadership roles for the committee. We talked at our last meeting about having Joe step up as either vice chair or co-chair, however you know.
You know, semantics. I think vice chair though would be better because I think if there's gonna be one point of contact with this committee, you know, if I'm vice chair, that makes you chairman, so that would make you point man and be second in case you're out or can't do something, so it's a little bit more structured,
Okay.
is my opinion on that.
Is it established that we can vote without all of us?
I have not talked to Frank about it, but
So we're just gonna do it,
if Jim's gonna be out until October, we're not gonna wait until October to vote.
okay?
Worst case, we can send him like a form and he can vote and send it back to us with his vote, or we can email him and ask him his vote. But we have a quorum here, and so if we get 3 or more votes tonight on what we vote on, then we'll be okay.
Yeah, and Jim's healthy, he's not sick, it's just he didn't realize this committee was gonna run into September. He's got commitments with the schools as a bus driver to
Yeah.
take teams to sporting events.
It's kind of busy season for him.
Yeah, so he's struggling to get some evenings off on Thursdays in particular. So,
And if it makes sense at some point to have the discussion about changing the date or time of our meetings, based on if you have conflicts this time of year or whatnot, I mean, we can have those talks. Something to think about. Yeah. So, yeah, at the last meeting, Nancy stepped down as co-chair, and that's how this conversation came up. So tonight we're gonna vote on Joe here stepping up as vice chair. So I think it's a great idea, so I would make a motion to nominate Joe as vice chair of the committee.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
we should, Nancy talked about taking the role of additional secretary, so should probably approve that, so
I would make a motion.
I would second your motion.
Aye.
So Nancy secretary, associate secretary, Jericho and Jim.
but I mean, that can happen if I'm not here, but.
I was thinking your primary.
Yeah,
That's fine.
And then if Nancy's absent, then I can
Back
backfill.
up and then, okay, perfect.
And then that also, I think, means that one idea that was tossed up is that I would present with David
For the
for
updates,
the updates.
That's a good idea.
we need to vote on that.
We can,
We can.
I mean.
I don't know what we call it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I motion Jerica help David with the updates on the first commission meeting of the month.
So, Jerica, David, our commission representatives, I second the motion. All in favor?
I guess I'll say aye.
We got that done, so,
You know, I'd step forward and do the agenda, so, this one, just continue with the agendas.
so Nancy will do our minutes and get those out to us. Joe will do the agenda. Nancy and I will, or Jerica and I will handle presentations to the city.
Mhm.
The next item of business,
Probably just
go ahead.
a little one, I'll go ahead and continue reserving the room
Yeah,
Perfect.
and the library when we have.
Oh, okay, thanks.
so the next item of business was updating the status of retaining legal counsel for the committee. And we talked about last week, I'm sure you all are aware, Dan Brown, the attorney that we were working on getting hired, he withdrew. So now we're in the process, which we've been working on this last week, finding a replacement. Dan Brown gave us 3 recommendations for attorneys, and we reached out to them, and Joe's got an update for us on Chris.
Guy named Chris Conrad, and so Dan left because Dan was more environmental focused than legal issues, and he thought we need somebody who had more municipal experience with what we were working on, so he recommended a few folks. It was Chris Conrad. Chris is with Coolidge Law out of Dayton. Chris's experience, he was village counselor for Yellow Springs for a number of years, also the counselor for the city of Oxford for a number of years, so he has the background in municipal law. He and I had a great conversation on the first phone call, ran through kind of what we were into, and he recapped it real quick. He was understanding and knew the particulars of what we were up against and some of the challenges, and he had some similar experiences with subcommittees through commissions and stuff, so he kind of knew the environment and the lay of the land with that. So he was very proactive. He goes, if you don't mind, I would like to call Frank Patrizio and talk to him about this. And I said, absolutely. So he talked to Frank, had a good conversation. Felt comfortable with Frank, comfortable with what the role is. And unbeknownst to me, he went ahead and put a scope of work together and sent it to Frank on Wednesday.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so then Frank did call him after receiving it and said, you know, this looks in order, but I've got to go to the city manager and show him, and he needs to approve it. So I talked to Chris Conrad today to ask him what the updates were, and he told me where it was, which is on the city manager's desk. And he said, John, I've worked in municipal facilities for years. Nothing moves fast, so 72 hours, I expect to hear something in 72 hours or something. So maybe tomorrow, but Monday or Tuesday next week, we should hear back from Frank and the city manager to see where we land. His rates were the same as Dan Brown's, $300 per hour. The difference was he did say that based on his experience, he'd probably have to have some help with work for the paralegals, and they're $200 an hour. And if an associate jumps on board to help out with any scope of this, they're $250 an hour. So,
You said an expert? Okay.
Associate.
so you got the lawyer of record, which would be Chris, but if you had an associate, it'd be $250 an hour and then $200 for a paralegal. So Chris said his proposal is basically breaking it down into 3 troughs. There's a phase of which is just him getting up to speed, reviewing all the documents, and then doing his own independent research based on the information he receives from us. That's the first silo of work he would do. Then it will lead into the second silo, which is working with us on interviews and trying to help with that. And the third trough would be helping us with the report, the draft of the report, and be present and available when we present the report to the city and to the citizens.
What was the first one again?
The first one is just reviewing all the documents that we give him and all the information, the hard drives and flash drives, our notes, conversations with us, just doing his homework to catch up to speed with all that is out there. So once he catches up, he said then he would research that information, and then he would move into the second phase, which is report related or interview related, and then a third would be the report. So
Did he think the 15 hours was reasonable?
he did not. Yeah.
Yeah, who would?
He presented, I think he said his full detail of scope of work. He put a number of roughly what he thinks it's going to be, the hours wise at it, right around roughly $10,000, he said, in work for him to do this work when we're done. So that's what he presented to Frank. I don't know where we land. I don't know if they negotiate that. We'll see where we go from here, but
Will we be able to see, as a committee, see the statement of work before we agree to this?
I called Chris, but like I said, I didn't get a hold of him, but I asked him to send us the copy of the statement of work. That way we can all look at it, and if we have any comments or questions, we can ask. But I think it's great that he's looking at it.
He's got the experience, very easy to talk to, down to earth kind of guy. So, I just felt comfortable. And my first phone call, he gave me half an hour. No charge. Just what he got, what he doing, how are you guys feeling about it, what are your hurdles? Some hurdles he identified before I even brought him forward.
His experience,
Have you heard of the battery ring?
He thought it rang the bell, but he was not 100% familiar with it at this time, so.
and I'm sorry, where did you say he was out of?
It's out of Dayton, with a law firm called Coolidge Wall,
Okay, yeah, I've heard that one.
so. Anyway, we've got a statement of work, on the city manager's desk, and we'll see where this lands, what next steps.
Yeah, so I think that's really promising. The other two attorneys that Mr. Brown recommended, one was Amelia Blankenship, and she was out of a firm called Bricker Graydon, which is also in Dayton, but they had a conflict. The city of Pick was using them for another job. There was a conflict there, we confirmed that. And then I reached out to Jerry McDonald today at PS&E, which is also in Dayton. And he said that he's got several big projects he's dealing with right now. So he would like to help us, but his hands are tied right now. So at this point, I think without a doubt, the best lead we have is Chris
You
Thompson.
asked me to call the one that Amelia recommended.
Yeah.
I only left a voicemail.
Okay.
It was Scott Lieberman of Buckley King.
So, yeah.
It
So
just
we can-
sounds good.
Yeah. I think, the $10,000 is obviously more than what Dan Brown would have cost, but at the same time, you gotta think like Coolidge Wall, that's a pretty, decent sized firm.
Well,
with-
the rates aren't any different than what Dan
Correct,
George does. It's
correct.
I think Chris gave us a more robust statement of work.
Yeah, plus you have paralegals
Correct.
and other associates that will be
Yeah.
helping out.
Yeah, it was the resources that he's gonna throw at it that's really inflated the price there, but,
Yeah.
But I think that's good because, like we talked about, like Dan Brown is just by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And with Coolidge Wall having all those resources and means they give us.
And we're also only paying for, like, when he's doing work, that's obviously the most expensive price point versus if it's a paralegal, we're not paying that same rate.
Right.
You know, because there's multiple resources doing the work.
I don't know if the dollar amount, that $10,000 amount was for a set number of hours, or if these things
I
are
know
ads?
he said full scope of work. He thinks that's to take it from the beginning to the finish line would be, in his eyes, a rough estimate of $10,000 to get everything completed that he would need to complete. I didn't see the scope, or I'm not sure I broke out the hours on each phase,
I would
see that. But, you know, he did say the first phase is obviously most important and obviously the longest phase. So they can get their arms wrapped around what's going on and he can start giving people direction on what he needs and where to go, what to investigate and what to vote up on legally wise, and that kind of stuff, so,
Did he talk at all about how he would communicate with us? Like, would he drive up here or?
yeah, he was very, very open and available for whatever we needed as far as he can Zoom call, we can go, he can come here. If one or two of us want to come down there, meet with him something about an issue, he's flexible, whatever works, so. He said he just seemed like he was very amenable towards whatever we might need, and he did agree that we should have representation based on what we're doing,
Yeah,
so.
no, I think this is fantastic, honestly.
Very promising.
Yeah, I hope it comes through.
Yeah. So that's kind of an update where things are at legally.
How soon would he be available?
Sounds like, I mean,
You know, I told him the dam backed out, but we were ready to go, and he said he could get into it pretty quick. So I didn't set a date pretty quick, but it was the word he used.
Okay.
but if we're all on board with the statement of work and, you know, if the city's okay with it, then once Paul signs it, then I think,
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so. Yeah, no, I just think, you know, this committee, what we've been asked to do by the commissioners and the report that we need to write, and if we want this to show to the community that we've given this a robust effort and full resources, and we just aren't BSing anything and that we tried. I mean, if we don't jump through every hoop we need to jump through to try to make all the right effort to get this done as well as we can, then, you know, it's gonna fall flat when we're doing it. If people think that we didn't give it a full go or that we weren't given the full resources, it's just not gonna come across as
correct,
valuable,
I agree.
as valuable as it should.
And my fear is that it would come back on us. Like, Dave Robb doesn't care. You know, I don't know.
No, I
But,
get you. So,
But, yeah, that's fantastic.
yeah, I mean, you know, if he doesn't come through, then we'll all have to take a step back and see what's going to happen.
I think we should be prepared though that whatever report we come up with, to the best of our abilities, somebody's not gonna like it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
We're never gonna be able to please
So
everyone,
just
absolutely not.
be prepared for it.
Yeah,
We've got to be able to look them in the eye and be able to say, we gave it the full go.
right.
You know, we pushed every resource, we tapped in everything we tapped into.
Yeah.
And like
Here's the hurdles that we had. But yeah, we gave it our best effort.
Otherwise, it's just gonna fall. It's just not gonna come across.
Okay, next item.
So, yeah, finalizing the details of the interview request letter, including getting signatures added.
The letter's good to go minus signatures that we discussed last week and the update per Frank.
Yeah, so I got an email from Frank. We talked last week about adding all of our signatures to the interview request letter that we're gonna just send out and see, you know, who's willing to talk. Frank reached out to me and stated that when it comes to city employees, Paul still wants those questions to be submitted in writing. So no in-person interviews there. I asked Frank,
We can't even send the letter.
I think the letter's more for non-city employees.
But can we send the letter?
We can send a letter, just Frank can't have his signature on the letter.
Correct, yeah, we can send a letter, but we talked about having Frank sign our letter, just to give it more, I guess, validity. And Paul doesn't want him to do that.
But just to reiterate, so we can send the letter to
Correct.
current employees.
No, I don't know about current employees, I just meant send a letter to others.
No, I think that would be
Employees.
confusing if we sent the letter to current employees because Paul has a process in place that he wants to implement. And the letter is,
It's on city letterhead.
the letter is requesting for us to either meet an hour in person or via Zoom or Teams. And that's not the process that Paul wants us to interview.
I know he doesn't want it.
Well, we're not gonna go, you know,
I
if Paul
know.
says X, then
I
we're not
agree.
gonna go.
Even without letterhead.
No, I think if we wanna try to communicate with city employees, that, you know, we just tell Frank, hey, we wanna talk to these people.
Because I'm wondering if it's even legal, what he's doing, saying they can't talk to this committee. Can you really do that?
He's the boss.
So under city, I don't know, yeah, I'd have to really dive in to see city charter, and that's something Chris Conrad would be able to answer.
Can you get into free speech? I mean, can a factory owner tell the workers they can't talk to a certain group of people in the community?
I don't know.
I mean,
Did you raise your hand? Did you wanna interject or no?
Yeah, it's, you guys are, in your capacity on the committee, you're not citizens, you're the government, and the government does not have free speech. As citizens you do. The commission is not allowed to direct city employees outside of talking to Paul. It's illegal. It's an ethics violation, it's a legal violation. Your committee, as an extension of the commission, is under that same guidance, so it would be certainly on the ethics guidelines, it would be against ethics for you to be perceived as directing city employees in contravention of what the city manager had already requested.
We wouldn't be directing anybody, we'd be asking for their
That
cooperation.
would be a really good question probably for the attorney.
Yep, it will be.
But my current understanding is what I just said.
I might go as far as calling ACLU about this.
but yeah, like, I mean, as soon as, when we get Chris on board, we could bring it up, just to confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously with his background being in municipal law, he'll probably be able to know,
Yeah,
right?
no, absolutely. Yeah, that's,
He may
give some
be
ideas.
really familiar with situations like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So regardless though, going back to the primary point of the interview letter, it's updated as was last week with the paragraph that you revised kind of in the beginning. The only thing that was the signatures, which Frank obviously is under the direction that we want a signature. The question is, do we want to have our own signatures at the bottom so they know who the committee members are, or we have it right now, it's like the generic, like from like sincerely the committee members.
is it easy to just type our names?
Yeah, I think you could do like the e-signature via PDF.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
Yeah,
actually just typing our names, don't try for a signature.
I mean,
If that's too complicated and gonna hold us up, or do we wanna wait now till we have a lawyer?
well, we can wait if you want, but
I'd rather do
I'd rather get it going.
Okay, perfect.
Good.
yeah, I'm okay, we just type in our names and
That's how I
committee
feel.
members, boom, boom, boom,
Perfect.
and just,
I'll just add that too. I can.
You said that. so.
Now, I don't know if we've seen the final interview list. I thought you were gonna send us because you needed help with emails, and that would give us a chance to see who all was on the list.
You sent it out, it's work in progress, you've got, looks like 70-80% done.
Yeah, and I don't know a lot, I mean, I can't.
The rest of it, you're kind of, gotta get more information.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know I don't even know where to start on some of these people that don't work for the city and or are never work, with other companies. I don't even know how to find their email addresses. I guess I could just via some Google database
Some of
of
it
their
would be-
mailing address.
Some would be in our documents if they still have the same email address.
Yeah, but those that have moved on, like I was saying, like Justin Sommers, Gary Huff. I mean, I know some of these
I have
people
had
are.
the same email address for 20 years, so,
I would just say like ex-city employees.
yeah. A lot of them we've got them on documents with their email addresses.
Personal email address?
It's not personal.
That's what I was
don't-
saying,
whatever.
yeah.
The email address, whatever they were using.
Okay, so what I'm saying though is some of those emails like Justin Sommers, Gary Huff,
Oh,
those people, the
the
ex-city employees, I don't know how to find their personal email addresses. I mean, and then for everyone else that
But
was
if
at
we
the
had the whole
company,
list, we could help with that.
I think I have the full list.
I don't think I have the whole list.
Okay. Alright, well, I'll make sure, it's in an Excel file, and I got from you had a Word document, and I got it all into that Excel file
But was that recently?
2 weeks ago,
Yeah, I got it.
last week.
Like I said, it's about 80% done, but there's still some information
I'll
to
look
try
at
to
it for me.
finish off.
I will resurface this up and resend it to you so that it's back to the top of your inbox.
There may be some community people that can help us with those email
Yeah.
addresses.
And then I would assume too, like a law office would be able, they would have to have, like Chris could probably have some database that would help us with contact information, but also not too.
Unless I think there's a good 15 or 20 that we have enough, and now that we know
Correct.
Frank's not gonna be on the list, that we can't add him to our signature list. So we got 15 or 20, we can start sending out pretty quick.
Correct.
And we can start finding details for these others and get those as we can, and start getting those out.
Some of these people are on LinkedIn, I know, like,
That's what I was thinking
like Gary
too.
Huff was on there.
Justin Sommers is
Justin,
on there,
okay.
I
I don't know if they would have their emails on there, or maybe we even like shoot them a message on LinkedIn and say,
not one of those, no.
hey. Yeah, right.
I can do it, I'm like, do you want to continue your education? No. Yeah, that was another thought I had, because that's how I filled in a lot of the where are they at today via LinkedIn. But yeah, so I guess my question on, going back to the interview request letter, I have as much populated on my end that I know. I guess if you guys could all go in there and add what you know, Nancy, on that. If you have personal email addresses, or if you think the citizens would have some personal email addresses, I think that would be great. Let's all work together to populate in the missing blanks.
Yep.
Okay,
With the goal of sending it by when?
today's the 12th. We can already start to send some out for the ones I have.
That's true.
So I will also start to do that, coming from the training committee email address as well, or do you want?
No, that's fine, I
Okay.
think, that's probably the best email to send them out.
Yeah, because it goes on to, it's
Yeah.
and then I
I'm pretty
think,
sure we can do that, right? Like our email's not like a one-way, we have an inbox, but not an outbox.
I think it is a one-way.
when I forward things though, how does that come to you guys?
I get it, let's see.
Because I was thinking nobody can reply to it. Maybe you can forward, but no, you can't reply, I think.
I'll figure it out, I'll test with you guys.
Well, some of the more recent emails that you've gotten from people, they send it to your Gmail account.
I know, cause then there's, yeah. It's okay, it can also be from my personal email, it doesn't matter, I'm not that rude.
We can try.
Yeah,
We can try it.
I'll test and try, and then if not, I can use my personal.
I just don't know why, I feel like there's something in my head saying, yeah, we talked about.
But if somebody would respond back positive about doing the written questions, then where do they send those? We wouldn't wanna use that email address, cause other people can read it. The city people can read it.
Do you just want everything to go through my personal email?
I think that might be better.
If you're okay with it.
I'm fine with that, I have my other business stuff that goes to another email address.
Okay.
Just my personal. Perfect, question answered. Okay. Anything else on the interview letters? Good to move forward to the next item?
So,
Yeah,
so next, we wanted to talk about how to best move forward with questioning city personnel.
we kind of hit on that during this discussion,
Yeah.
so yeah.
If there's any more thoughts on that, or?
No, I think we all agreed, try to get hopefully we get an attorney, get his opinion on it, and he can help us with that.
Yeah.
And if not, at this point, the only avenue we have would be to go through Frank and then tell him who we'd like to speak with and
Would we,
through the city manager.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, I feel like I started talking as you're still talking. Would we still want to send written questions start that process of sending the written questions to the city employees, current city employees, in the interim as we do this research work with Chris?
We could probably start, I mean, it sounds like his mind's pretty made up.
Correct.
And, these questions will be in writing. So maybe in the interim, we can maybe look at the city employees that we wanna talk to.
Mhm.
And at least, even if we do get an in-person interview, having the questions written down would be helpful. I mean,
True.
you know what I mean? Like,
We still need what I would call like an interview guide, right?
Yeah.
Regardless if you email that over and that's the only thing, or if it's an in-person discussion,
right,
we'll still want that interview guide
Yeah.
as a guiding force. It doesn't mean you have to sit here and only do a Q&A with that. Let it be a conversation and dialogue, yeah.
So maybe we can look at that list
Mhm.
of names that we've generated,
Mhm.
find the city employees on the list that we wanna talk to, and maybe all 5 of us take a person
Mhm.
and then generate a list of questions. That way we can kind of really get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, I think between now and next week, we should get at least 5 specific questions that everybody is going to receive.
Yeah,
And we can go detailed specific to that person after that, but definitely
Correct.
5 that
I'm on your same thought process.
Yeah.
It's like
common.
there's some common set of questions that we're asking, and then of course, more detail as we get to those
Right.
people and their role.
And I think based on their responses, the
second
follow-ups
Rounds will be much more specific.
Yeah.
Oh no, did you? You're sure?
Back to the drawing board. I just shouldn't have pens. Just take them.
You're like a little kid, David, don't touch anything. Just kidding.
Okay, so that can be maybe a goal for next week.
Yeah.
And I would let's start with reviewing what we asked Paul in the first round, and we can pull on those questions on like, what's the same questions we wanna ask the rest of the city employees.
5 common questions using Paul's as a guideline.
Could we use, so for the 5 common questions, do you wanna use this Google Doc, like, that we have set up, like, writing out in there? Maybe we'll come up with more than 5.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can do 5, or tonight came up with 5, so at least 5. So you wanna put that into the Google Docs?
Yeah, if you guys are okay with that, that way we can work on it together and
Yeah.
you can see all the edits and
Mhm.
so to speak right there. As opposed to passing a document back and forth.
Yeah, that way you can see if somebody else already posed a question for working on it, we don't duplicate a lot,
Yeah,
makes sense.
and just can we make sure we share it as a Google Doc, like link versus when you attach it, it doesn't work like that. So
It's just
yeah,
Say that again.
when you attach the Google Doc, then that breaks being able to be in there at the same time. You have to link it as a Google Doc. Does that make sense?
Do we wanna
When you-
are we making a new Google Doc? Okay, we'll just
You
use the same one.
You can use the same one, yeah. So when you send an email, it's like, it'll say, do you wanna attach or drive? And then over here it says attach or link. And we wanna link it, otherwise I
Don't you
can't.
just wanna go in and type?
Correct, but you can't, so for example, Nancy, the email you sent me, which was from a Google Doc, but it was as an attachment. So then I have to download the document and then re-upload it and send it back to you versus just being able to like get into the document and like play around. Not play around with it, but go into the document and add comments.
I sent you what?
A draft of the report out.
But I didn't use the Google Docs.
It said docx. I don't know what you sent to me then.
I thought I just,
DocX, is that a Word file?
I think it's just a Word file.
Why was it a docx?
I wasn't in Google Docs for that.
Cause I had to download it. Anyways, doesn't matter, we can just continue to, just as
Did
we
you
should.
get into the document that we have already?
This is it.
Oh, okay.
Now I can get in there, I already
You
had
can
it
get
stuff.
in, Joe, can you get in? Yeah. Okay, and we can double check with Jim, make sure he can get in.
Right now, we feel the need to attach an email to it.
I just mean, yeah, in general, I hope, I just share out from the Google.
So we can all start working on it now, and then if it comes through as an attachment, then we can work with that,
Yeah,
so it's not different plan.
yeah,
So common questions, 5, 10, whatever it is.
Yeah, at least 5, but we wanna make sure that each person we interview gets the same, at least the same 5 questions, and break off from there, specific to them.
Jericho, so you're gonna resend that list out.
yes, I will resend again, so it's at the top of everyone's inbox on the Excel file. And you should be able to filter to, if it says, I have like affiliated, and then there's Piqua. And then you can scroll through that, and then it will show you everyone that we wanted to interview that was either once affiliated with the city of Piqua, or is still current with the city of Piqua.
Okay.
And then it will show you their years if they're still current. I try to set us up for success, I'm not gonna say it. Open to feedback.
So that'll be one of the goals then for next Thursday, or I'm sorry. Well, that's one other thing we need to
That's
talk
what
about.
we're working on coming up, and actually I'm pulling my calendar up. So next Thursday, we talked about taking these meetings from every week, going every other week, where we're full committee, the weeks we're not full committee, we're gonna work in independence, or groups of 2, and work on the report and our timelines, so that we can start creating those, and not wait till the last minute to pull that through. So, that being said, because we're not, Nancy's this room's already reserved for,
It's already reserved, and I reserved the library room already for next week.
thank you, so
I
there's
didn't
more
go any
reserved
further than that,
for next week. So I think we can do
for 5:30,
5:30.
so it's same time Thursday.
So when we decide, when the weekends, weeks we're gonna work independent, it might not be, if we're gonna reserve rooms, we gotta stay with that day, Thursday. The rooms are already reserved, so. But if we get together and say, Jericho, Thursday's not good for you, or obviously Thursday might not be good for Jim, Jim and I might meet on a Tuesday. But he and I can work that out, and we can reserve a room, he or I will reserve a room. So anything that goes off of Thursday, we're gonna have to work together on. But,
How do we wanna do the timeline?
timeline it's big,
It is. I have like my game plan for it is to get like a cardboard tube thing, so it can just roll up and stay in that tube. Do you?
yeah,
I still just don't know, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna come here to drop it off when you guys meet and then, not that you guys are more than welcome to come pick it up from my house.
Do you wanna take pictures of it
I can do
and
it.
send pictures of it to us?
It's long, I could do it though, I am happy to do it.
So my first thought is this room's gonna be available on Thursdays, we got a large table. Let's do timeline in this room. And maybe we can talk to somebody, one of the ladies or people here, maybe we can store it in a room.
Yeah, I mean, the timeline itself is big, but it's rolled up and I can roll it up in cardboard too.
But that way it's not transported in and out,
Yeah.
but on Thursday night, we can get it from the room, unroll it, who's ever here is working on the timeline. And then we can roll it back up in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my thoughts for not,
Yeah, maybe the lady that's comes out tonight or someone that works here,
Yeah,
they can, even if they just keep it in their office.
Mhm.
If it's in the tube, you know, as long as everyone's okay with that.
If it were my tube, I wouldn't wanna do that.
I just
All
like,
that work.
So I don't want it to get lost or anything.
Yeah. I just don't want you guys to feel like you don't have access to it either. I'm just trying to troubleshoot through this, it's like I don't want you guys to feel like you don't have access to it. And obviously the timeline is a large deliverable of our report out.
yeah, we talked about the timeline when we do the community report to the community, we talked about putting it up on display. So, you know, if we're gonna do that, then we need to work on it in live format. So trying to figure out how to best,
How about this, I will just have it at my house and then on Thursdays we know that it will be here, so whether
Well,
if it's
you're gonna be coming for most of the meetings.
there's 2 in October though that I obviously will be out for due to work obligations, but I can have, I mean, you guys are more than welcome to come by my house, you know, to pick it up, and I'll have a map
we can do that.
available, you know.
Do we wanna assign who's gonna be where for next week, or just figure it out when we come, or how do you wanna handle that?
Well, this room's gonna be timeline, right?
Mhm.
So I'll be happy to come and work timeline next Thursday in this room.
So David and I will be meeting down in the library.
It can be in the library.
And just because
And then
I'm
we'll switch it out.
I was gonna say,
next
just
time.
because I'm bringing the timeline doesn't mean, I've seen the time. I've done the timeline. I don't want you guys to think just because I'm bringing the timeline to this room that I have to be in this room
No,
all the time.
no.
It's all of our work,
Sure.
not just because I was the one who did it, you know.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds good.
So yeah, but then we're gonna have to work on a rotating schedule, so not every week are the same 2 people
Right.
meeting. We've gotta make sure that the next time we all meet, if Jarek and I are working on a timeline next week, or then you guys are together, then the next time we get together, then you and I can be together, Nancy, or you two, or
Yeah.
however it works, we'll figure it out, though, right?
Yeah.
So.
I feel like at some point we'll have to digitize the timeline.
So how this has worked so far is, I had some stuff, Nancy sent me obviously the what do we know document. I haven't received anything from Jim or you guys, which is totally fine, I don't mean that in a negative way. So that's what I have right now, so hoping that when you guys see it, then you can add pieces to it or.
And we can just send you, well, or I guess, I don't know.
The timeline is just a nice way to look at everything and then I can digitize it later, after we've all kind of dumped our thoughts onto it, was my plan. Nancy started with the digital format already, and I think I've completed 20 of the 20, you've only sent me the 20-page document, I think you said you have 35 maybe or so.
Up to 50.
You're up to 50? Okay, so you have more stuff to add.
No, and I was sort of waiting on you to send back the green highlighted area.
So what am I not? Who am I emailing?
Somebody's, if it didn't bounce back, somebody's getting it.
It's
No, because I know-
imposter.
Because I know Joe emailed back and said, thanks for sending all, cause there was like a period last week where I
You're
was
talking
like,
about the what do you know document,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I got it, I printed it.
The green highlighted version?
Yeah.
There, she did one, but you
and then I did one
together-
last week, But the same day I sent the
I printed the
But
one,
I
I
didn't
printed
get it.
out the one she sent last week.
I didn't get it.
Nancy, I don't know who, am I not?
And I've even been cleaning out emails.
Okay, let's do, let's find this, interview Excel,
When you forward things.
njrcommittee@yahoo.com. That's on September 4th.
Yeah,
See the Excel file I'm building out to track. That's who I sent it to. On that one.
but I send it again, let's see what happens. Check right now.
Okay, I'll forward again. Include attachments, Nancy, Jane, Joe, David. I'm just gonna say FYI. 6 weeks, let me know if you got that. I was like, am I crazy? Oh. Which one, don't answer it.
Jericho, when are you out in October?
October 14th, and then I'm out back to, sorry, no, that's not even a date. October 17th, it's the week of the 14th, so I'm out October 17th
I got that.
and October 24th.
You just sent me 2 files. The interview and potential interviews, so I got that.
Did you get can you see though that I sent it to you on the 4th? Do you see that part?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So that's the one. And then let me change, that was how I found my Excel.
And we were talking, I didn't catch the date, you're not gonna be here.
October 17th and then October 24th. They're back-to-back weeks.
So I guess one question is, are we okay shifting from a weekly meeting schedule to a bi-weekly meeting schedule? And then getting work done in the off week?
You want us to vote on that?
I feel like we should. So I would make a motion that we change our meeting schedule from once a week to every other week, so that we can get more work done during that off week time. So,
Yeah, I second that motion.
Aye.
Go ahead.
So work sessions in between.
are you in favor?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So we're all in favor, so September 19th, then will just be a off week. The committee will not meet, and we, not
Not a public.
not a public official meeting.
And I thought maybe, since I reserved the room, I could make a sign to put on the door downstairs to let the public know we're not having a meeting that night on the off weeks.
That's fine.
Because otherwise they'll just come right up here and we're gonna have public in on the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll get hold of Christine tomorrow and tell her to put in here no meeting next week.
Some kind of announcement.
Yeah, I'll stay with her on this.
Okay.
And I got the last one.
So our next meeting then officially is September 26th.
Yeah, September 26th, we have a full meeting. Ten threes breakouts, so I got Joe and Nancy on that breakout, and David and Jericho on 10-3. We'll switch up teams,
That's fine.
and 10-10 will be the next full meeting. 10-10 will be the next, 10-26 is a full meeting, 10-10 is a full meeting. Jericho's out on the 17th, that's gonna be a breakout, so.
I think this will just give us more time to process information, analyze information, prevent burnout. And if you got family stuff, obviously that's important too, so.
And I think we threw it out there then too, that if on the off weeks, there's a day that doesn't work on the Thursday, you could potentially organize with whoever else might look on it,
Yeah,
Tuesday or Wednesday,
yeah, however your partner's gonna be, if you guys can work that out,
yeah,
maybe get a meeting room for that day,
yeah.
we can make that happen. The second floor meeting rooms usually don't require a big lead time on reserving,
Okay.
so. More lead time you give them, the better.
Mhm.
So beyond that, I don't know if anybody has any other comments or things they wanna share.
Well, I wanted to mention that just in anticipation of the final report, I'm printing out fresh copies of all of our agendas and all of our minutes,
Oh, okay.
just so nobody else has to do that. So I'll keep that up, keep moving along.
Right.
One thing I was thinking, Nancy and I met Tuesday, and we were just talking about kind of the final report. The one thing that crossed my mind was, you know, all of us are able to make FOIA requests. We decided, you know, if Jericho, you wanna go get a request made, you can do that. Nancy, she can do it, Joe. As long as we share what we get, when we get it, we should be okay. But at some point, we should probably sit down, and I'm not saying like in the next couple weeks or whatnot, but at some point, we should probably sit down and make sure we all have the same information.
Sure,
Just so that we're all on the same page.
agree with that.
I know it's a lot, but I don't want anybody to like think, oh, Dave, he's got 1,000 pages more than me. You know what I mean? Like, I just want us all to be on the same page and moving forward together.
Yeah, it's a combined effort, everything's gotta be put together, full report is one.
So,
Well, then I feel the need to share that I have been given some documents from community people that they have been hesitant for me to share and I have been hesitant to share. And I'm not sure what to do about that. And they're not in neat tiny piles anymore, now they're all integrated with all the other documents that we've been given by community people and by Frank. So I'm not sure, even if I feel comfortable sharing them, how to do that. And part of my discomfort in sharing is I don't want the city to see our documents that our report's gonna be based on before we're ready.
No, I'd agree, I think whatever information we maintain in confidence amongst the committee and it comes out in the report stage. I don't want anything going out that's piecemealed or filtered before the report.
right.
Everything needs to go out in full context, in full substance, so it's not misconstrued or misinterpreted. So I agree with what you're saying, Nancy, and whatever information you have, I would offer, investigate it, draw it out to a logical conclusion, and when you're ready to put it in a final report, or if you see something that you feel like you need to share, but
I've sort of been doing that with the what do you know thing,
yeah,
because I'm putting there what the source is.
yeah. No, I mean, I don't have any problem with anybody in this committee if they start working down a path on something and you're just not ready for it to be consumed with the rest of the committee because it's not complete information. And you just want to figure it out and fill it out before you put it forward, that's all fair game.
Now, are you saying the documents that you have that you don't feel comfortable sharing at the end, when we do our report, at that point, you're okay, the documents, the contents of the documents are in the report and we
I
can
don't
refer to them?
know. I got to thinking about these documents and whose documents are they? And are these the city's documents? Or could they be treated as footnotes that you'd have for a research paper? You don't hand in all those documents representing the footnotes with a report. So could that attitude be applied to the documents? I don't know. Again, I think it'll be something that a lawyer can help with.
Yeah, we're, a lot of this we're thinking as private citizens, but now we're under a public domain in documents, once they land as
The
part of
word is
public
kept
domain.
in sunshine laws, the word is kept.
So if anything that you have ends up in our report, then the document needs to be included for support. And it could be FOIA'd. So.
Well, that's your opinion.
Well,
We can check with the attorney.
you have to check with the attorney.
If a document is being used in our report, all those documents are gonna be
FOIA.
submitted, yeah, it's all public.
Well, I don't think we know that, that's why I'd like to hold out.
We can-
Ask the
We can
lawyer
double
about
check,
it.
we can double check.
I mean, is every little note that I write on my dining room table belong to the city?
With FOIA, I don't know, conceivably,
Yeah, conceivably.
yeah. Good luck to them, they can read my handwriting. They catch.
I mean, I type up lots of lists. Those now belong to the city? I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I think everyone's gonna have their own notes and things like that, I think. But the city is going to get at the end of this, and we can double check with the attorney and Frank and have a conversation about it, but the city's gonna get our report. The city's gonna get the supporting documents to our report. The city's gonna get probably copies of our emails if there's 5 of us or more in the discussion. Because that's all,
I'd like all that defined and
We
backed
can-
up by sunshine laws.
and there's a lot of gray there, and we can get that more black and white. We can,
Yeah, it needs to be.
Yeah, I'm working under the assumption, anything that could happen to a city commissioner could happen to us. That's the assumption I'm working on,
correct.
so I'm trying to keep myself in,
I know,
That
but
mindset.
that doesn't help me. I don't know what you mean by that.
it just means that anything that, if you could FOIA any commissioner's reports or any commissioner's information on your public document FOIA, if you can do it to a commissioner, then the same thing could happen to me or you.
If it becomes public, yeah.
Because we are public entities right now.
My advice,
If the document becomes public. If the commissioner writes a note on his kitchen table, that's not public, is it?
I mean, I don't think all the work product is public, but I think a document that supports an opinion or something.
I mean, most of this notebook right here
Yeah,
is my personal thing that I put together. It's not even the documents that I'm talking about.
see,
This
these
is
are all
belong
great
to the
questions.
city.
We could debate for a while, but I think the attorney would give us better guidance, but but it's just I'm just telling you, for me, I'm erring on the side of caution. I'm like, should I have this, should I put this up forward, should I bring this out? No, I'm not ready to put this out. I'm working on this, but it's not complete, so I'm not
And I
gonna put it
think
out.
the lawyer will even be able to advise on the final report out on what's what's valid to put out in the report versus maybe what's speculation that we wouldn't want to include.
Yeah, we gotta stay.
And if there are things we want to include, Nancy, then do those documents become evidence or, ability to be for you.
Yeah, not all documents are relevant. So then what happens to those?
Yeah, but no, I appreciate you holding those.
Yeah, I think it's
Until you're
fine to
ready.
hold close to your heart until you feel ready to.
And then
Bring forward,
it's still the missing thumbnail documents from Frank's box.
okay?
You haven't seen it yet, have you?
Did you guys have
I had it for a couple weeks.
I tried to give it to you at the
that? I
update.
thought this is something I had already.
No,
this is when she went to Frank's office.
when I spent about 4 to 6 hours over at Frank's office looking for those missing thumbnail files. It was, like around 500 and some.
Yeah, because I had those one files that I was trying to get back to at the cafe and I couldn't find them anywhere. Thank you.
Were those the?
What files?
I had a couple of, so I thought this was that, another,
No.
okay, this is one that I already say.
What was the other? I downloaded files from you 2 times. One was that, the other one was.
Some notes from community members.
I think it was like a.
I've had a RAPCA flash drive,
RAPCA,
I think
yeah.
everybody got that.
Some documents, some community members.
And I think everything that I have personally FOIA'd, I've shared. Bowling Green,
Sure.
Most recently, county auditor, state auditor, one of the auditor's offices. I got 2 audit reports for the city.
I would just say if there's stuff that you're not sure that you won't wanna share ever, or that people don't want you to share it ever, keep that together. And I wouldn't integrate it with.
It's way too late. And my mind is not made up, I just have hesitations, I'd like to just have some legal counsel on it.
No, I think having the attorney is gonna help a great deal, so. Good, anybody have anything else?
No, what's next? Testimonials, I don't see any here, so.
Public comments?
Jeff, questions. Joe, you mentioned this Chris Conrad, he's an environmental attorney.
He's not. His expertise is in municipal law.
Okay.
Dan Brown was the environmental attorney that we had, and he didn't think that he was the right fit.
Okay.
Chris does know Dan. Dan referred to Chris.
Okay.
Part of the conversation, I asked Chris, is if we run into environmental issues, would you reach out to Dan? He said, absolutely. Go work with him on environmental stuff that Dan's an expert on. So, you know.
And to Nancy's questioning on documents and stuff like that, there's quite a few people, and me included, that have been interviewed by this panel months ago. And the information I turned over to you and then turned over to everybody, a lot of that was Freedom of Information Act that Alicia got from Frank Patrizio at the city. And I think you guys know those are mostly emails and copies of the permits from RAPCA, okay?
Yeah.
Other documents in there that are just a Word doc that sounds like a chemist wrote them was me, okay? So, and I think we all have established that. But will the attorneys want to talk with everybody you've already interviewed?
That's a great question.
We don't know that yet.
Yeah, that's a really, really good
But
question.
I don't think you taped the interviews, did you?
No,
No,
Okay.
it just happened.
no,
That was the
But you
whole,
all have individual notes from all the people you've interviewed?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Understand.
But, maybe Chris gets into this, maybe he wants to come up and hear some.
I think if I was on this panel, I'd talk to those people that you've interviewed and let them have an update that they might be asked by attorneys to reiterate what they've already spoke to you about months ago.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
definitely could happen.
And then I missed this because I haven't been here for 5 or 6 weeks. Did you get a first-time interview from Paul Wubendorfer?
He did answer our email. He did answer our questions.
We sent him a set of written questions.
So he has the 100 questions that you went on the first round?
We only got the answer 25.
Yeah, there was like maybe 25 questions the first round that we sent.
Were they short and curt, or were they informative?
not
His responses,
Yeah.
Not informative.
Not informed.
Were they informative? Did they help the panel?
No.
Okay.
So things like wasn't here at the time, sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, just kind of vague, generic.
And one last follow-up question. The people that I submitted that might have injury that may or may not have resulted from the battery burning, are all those interviews done?
No, I talked to Mr. Maxstroth for probably 45 minutes, had a good phone call with him, I've left a couple of messages with the Reinhardt phone, trying to reach out to them, so.
No.
Anything from the Kiefer family? Mrs. Kiefer had rashes on the small of her back and on her hand.
That was, Nancy was reaching out to her, but I don't think the timing was right for her to talk to us. or
Okay.
something. She
Okay, I
was
couldn't
busy.
remember her name, she's
And then
on Ziegler Road.
Hampshire is still not wanting to talk?
Pretty much, they're a business in town, I think that Brad pretty much, what he said in the commission meeting is pretty much gonna stand what he's gonna say.
And the elderly lady up on Ziegler Road, just east of.
That's the one I was thinking of. She had, I believe it's her son, had a stroke or something, and he was in rehab. I think they had just gone into rehab, and so she wasn't comfortable talking right then. But I could call her back.
Yeah.
It's been a while now.
I think Ms. Kiefer might have been the one that said, you know, now's not a good time to reach out for some reason with her. I didn't go back and look. We didn't reach out.
I'd have to look at my notes now.
So I guess a few of my questions, that's it? Thanks.
If you were here last week, real quick, did you know that the gentleman's coming back that did the symposium? He's going to take samples at the water.
Scott Smith.
He's gonna go to school. You know about that coming up?
Yeah, I heard about that, and did you all know that the Ohio EPA submitted a report back to the city officials on all of their results from water and soil and air sampling as far as like, I think like 14, 17 pages, but it must have cited a dozen times in there, it's Ohio EPA's opinion that nobody was subjected to anything of a hazardous duration of time at the dog park, at the water plant. Did you all see that one?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was included, I think, what Frank
And
gave
that,
us.
that just came out just a few weeks ago, so I'm wondering, how is the panel capturing communications between Ohio EPA and RAPCA and the city? Are you guys getting copied in on all that? I mean, how did you come across that report from Ohio
I
EPA?
don't think I've seen this report that he's talking about.
Yeah, it was presented a couple of weeks ago, and somebody brought it forward, and he went on you can see it on the city's website, they had something up about it.
Yeah.
So, but we're not involved, to have to answer your question, I see nothing current between those organizations, but the Ohio EPA, nobody wants to talk to us.
Nobody wants to talk to this panel, nobody wants to talk to them.
No one wants to talk, they don't want to talk to us.
Yeah.
So.
That should
everything's-
raise up all kinds of red flags.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get, you're saying we have this report that it just.
The city put it out when they got it a couple weeks back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you had to go look at it.
But the cover letter that came with it from Ohio EPA was rather, nothing wrong here, nothing to see. And I must have quoted that a dozen times in those 14, 15 pages. At this point, there is no determinable level of exposure to anybody. And I'm thinking, how can you write that down there when you don't know whether someone spent 2 or 3 hours at the dog park that afternoon? How do you say that when somebody at Hampshire Company might have been there early that morning when they shut down their plant and to get all the equipment up and running? I mean,
They don't know how many burnings there were. That was a 5-year period, over a 5-year span.
I just wanna make sure you all had that. It's on the city website, I don't know whether Alicia got it, but I saw a copy of that and I read through that and I thought, well,
Yeah, no,
it
that's.
sounds like they had
came
good
out
hot
in the-
water, a lot of soap on it.
I saw it in the Monterey Valley today, they had an article that the city put out, you know, hey, this report came back, so then I went and looked at
That's
it on the
true,
site,
yeah.
so,
But that wasn't the report itself.
no, just information's reported come through. And it was available for public consumption on their website.
Is this when I was gone?
Yes, when you were out.
Okay.
You guys did mention that you wanted to put full resources towards the investigation. Now, given that ESRG was pinned into continued contractual operations and allowed to operate through and under the direction and signature of our city manager, I think $10,000+ is a lot of money to extract from Mr. Oppendorfer's salary. Should we as a community expect a compromise in Mr. Oppendorfer's duties towards the city due to a reduction in his salary from this $10,000 that's gonna be extracted from Mr. Oppendorfer's salary? Rather than the taxpayers. The taxpayers already pay Mr. Oppendorfer, so those are our tax dollars anyway, but somebody's gotta pay for the wrongdoings. And if they implement an ordinance to never do this again, that means there were wrongdoings. So I'm sure all of us as kids, when we did something wrong, our parents punished us for doing something wrong. So you don't go without repercussions for engaging in these type of actions. So somebody's gotta face the repercussions rather than the taxpayer. The taxpayer's been hit at every level of this whole tragedy. I mean, I can go through that. Every level of this tragedy has fallen back on the taxpayer, you know?
Yeah.
Even the accusations that the people from the water department were there offloading equipment from ESRG. Those are our tax dollars at work, okay? Our tax dollars paid for the testing, you know? So we're the ones that got violated. And then here our taxpayers our taxpayer dollars gotta go to find out, well, what type of contamination is on site, you know? It's like at every angle, the taxpayer's getting hit for something they didn't do, they didn't want. This was all foisted upon the community.
Yeah.
So I don't think the community itself, the taxpayers, should continue to be responsible for this tragedy. You know, I think who should be responsible should be ones that penned these contractual obligations into existence. You know, I think that would only be fair.
Can that be turned into a recommendation?
Well, you know what, I think there would be a lot of healing that goes towards this tragedy if those who penned these contractual obligations into existence would come out and just do a simple apology. Just start there. Start there with a simple apology to the citizens and the taxpayers. I mean, you're not gonna do it in front of commission because that's just way too small, you know, nobody's gonna be satisfied with that. I mean, that's getting away with a pittance. That's not the place to do it. I mean, you better send out a mailer saying you're sorry, you better get on the radio, you better get on the news. I mean, everything. You better reach out to every media outlet there is and apologize for all of this. And we still have not received that apology. You know, if I asked, what's the previous mayor, what was her name? Cindy Pearson. I said, what are we gonna do to regain the trust of the community? And she gave me the politician's answer, well, we're working on that, okay? So the we're working on that manifested into this town hall meeting where it just became a round robin gotcha type of thing where they were set up in stations and this station's, you know, pawned it off on this, well, that's Miami Valley Health, and, you know, you go over to the Miami County Health Department, oh, that's, you know, you better talk to RAPCA about that, and everybody's pointing the finger at everybody else, and then you're not getting any answers. So it would go a long way to receive an apology from those who penned these contractual obligations into existence. Okay, and I'm not talking about the former administration, I'm talking continued contractual obligations, because I know how they like to pawn it off onto the former administrations. Okay, if we had every president that came into office say, oh, that's why they all sit at the desk and they retract every other president's bills and everything that they passed before they came into office, okay? If Mr. Oberdorfer is gonna come into the city, take on his role as city manager, and he pens this contract into continued existence and re-ups, well, he should have taken that contract and reviewed it and taken a deep breath and said, no, I don't want this in the community. This is a bad idea. But no, he re-upped the contract, and now we're in a contract of 20+ years, you know, with the option to renew. So we're in a bad way. We're in a real bad way, and it would go a long way, a simple apology. And we're heading towards, what, a 1-year anniversary of this thing?
Yeah.
And we don't wanna head into 2025 with the community still fractured over this tragedy. I don't think so. I think there needs to be some type of healing that needs to occur. And I think the apology would go a long way. I think that would be the first step. You know, just a public apology. And it would need to be on, you know, social media. It would need to go out on a mailer to every residence, just like the water report. It would need to be in the newspapers, radio, TV, at commission. The apology would need to be on all these media outlets and formats, you know, because you're not just gonna just stand up at commission and get away with that, because that's just a few, you know, it's a very few people that represent the community that attend these commission meetings. So, no.
I take it that this panel's final report to the commission will have an ending that is entitled recommendations,
That's correct, that's part of
Yeah,
our resolution.
and another one entitled actions.
Yeah, we don't want to see this ever happen again. Now, there has been an ordinance passed so that this never happens again. But I'm talking about from, you know, a moral and ethical standpoint, you know, coming from within, you know, you gotta have some, I don't know, this is like grade school stuff, you know, you look at a contract and you say, boy, this is for 20 years. You know, why do I wanna re-up a contract that's for 20 years? I better look at this a little bit more closely. And, you know, it's just, it baffles the mind how these big plumes of smoke were allowed to go for our drinking water supply, and that was allowed to go on out there for 5 years. And then they had people from the water department out there hoisting these batteries and other equipment off of the truck beds for ESRG allegedly. So I don't know how people that work for the water department can watch these plumes or can be privy to this, you know, these activities that are going on out there. I mean, you are purposefully doing energy research, experimental energy research at that. What is it, 150 feet away from our drinking water sources? And that experimental research, it's not been, you know, it's still in its experimental phase. I mean, they don't have all the data on it. It's ever evolving. Those were Nick Warner's words at commission. This technology is ever evolving. So we're doing experimental research out there right by our drinking water sources.
that's what I'm looking forward to, Mr. Smith and the city testing, same location, same sample size. Smith's going to this lab, city's sending ours to that lab. So that's the first sign of some sort of continuity that I can see where everybody can be in agreement that you aren't fudging your test results. And you can debate the labs we send them to, I guess, but if you're side by side taking the same sample size in the same area, you know, that's a start.
It goes a long way to have consistency in matching numbers within a percent of error labs on different ends of the country or different ends of the state that are different companies that own them, independent, and that says a lot.
You know,
I
another
wouldn't
thing-
put money on that happening.
Another thing that people don't take into account is all the little animals that would have been out through those fields over a 5-year span. I'm talking every little shrew, little mouse, little salamander, little frog, all those animals drink water, okay? Water is essential for survival. So those animals were going back to our water supply over a 5-year span. They were, you think about the winters, over the winters, they had tarps over those large battery, containment systems. I can imagine little mice getting up in there, burrowing for the winter and over winter, getting that stuff on their fur, and then going to our water, going to our source water, drinking out of our water. All these little animals, that stuff adds up over
Another
time.
meeting to attend to. Thank you all for all your
Thanks.
effort.
Very good talking to
Thanks for
you.
coming.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you, guys.
See.
Does anybody else? Any-
Thank you guys, seriously, for all that you're doing, okay?
No, thank you.
I don't
Appreciate
wanna,
your-
the money is a big ask, but I think in the long run, it will be worth it. I'm just kind of being sarcastic here about it coming out of, Mr. Orbendorfer's salary. But, it just feels like it's a punch in the gut when it has to come out of the taxpayers' dollars. And just like everything else that has funded this whole tragedy almost. But I don't want that to dissuade you guys from asking for the money, because we do have to get this out, this undertaking underway. So, I'm sorry for being sarcastic in that aspect, but, I want Mr. Oberndorfer to hear my concerns, I want him to review the tape. And, maybe he'll think about this, maybe he'll have a heart to heart with himself, I know he's probably been thinking about this for many, many months, and probably weighs heavy on him, and maybe he needs an impetus to come out and at least say, I'm sorry to the community, okay? One first step, okay, will mean a lot towards healing a fractured community. I don't want to go into 2025 with a fractured community that still feels fractured because of this tragedy. I mean, it's not necessary. I thought when this commission was going to come on board, that basically they were going to be the dream team, and 2024 was going to be the year that this was going to be like, the Band-Aid was going to be put on this tragedy, and we were going to move past this. But obviously, we're still dealing with it. And I think it's gonna take a while to, gather all this evidence still and work our way through it. And I think eventually we'll get there. And I think what you guys are doing is admirable, and I think it is the right steps to take. I hate to be sarcastic in my, viewpoints and stuff. I just feel like many other people feel, we feel wronged as a community.
I appreciate you telling us, thank you.
Thank you.
Made good points.
It does bring up so that this is being recorded, but I don't think, last meeting has been posted yet. I don't know
I'll reach out to Michelle.
I don't know whether they remind it every time or what. But if you can reach out to her, yeah.
I'll reach out.
'Cause I didn't check today, but I don't think it's been.
We'll make sure that tonight's meeting is posted and last week's meeting is posted. So with that, if there's nothing else, then I think I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
For attending.